Today's the day. Today's the day. I hope your boots is laced. Welcome to another episode of Somebody Said Kane Show, part of the Somebody Said Sports Network. As always, I am Breeze. I am doing this show remote for the first time. I am reporting live from an Embassy Suites down here in South Florida, in town for the national championship. Didn't get a chance to do my video, a final prediction before I got out of town. So I said, you know what? We're gonna hop on the phone, we're gonna prop this thing up in the hotel, and we're gonna get this content out. As always, I appreciate everybody that tunes in. Please hit the like, please hit the subscribe. I wanted to do a full film review. I had all my clips made up. I went back and watched Indiana games against Iowa, Penn State, Ohio State. Of course, I got plenty of Miami stuff, and I was going to do all these clips and all this all 22 film review like I normally do. And I ran out of time. Life just happened. But it's all good. I wanted to, at the very least, get some thoughts out before this game happens later tonight. Some things that I expect to see, as well as a final prediction. So, these are some things that I think are going to be the most important when it comes to this game in determining who wins and who loses. From an Indiana perspective, I don't have to tell people how good they are. I don't have to remind people how good this Indiana team has been. If you watch the Oregon game, if you watch the Alabama game, they've been blowing the doors off everybody they've played so far in the playoffs. So I don't have to remind you that they're good, elite even. But I think there are some things to keep in mind about this team. This team is not invincible. They're not infallible. In fact, if you go back and you watch the Iowa game, the one they won by 5 points, 20-15. If you go back and you watch the Penn State game, the one where they needed a ridiculous, remarkable catch in the back of the end zone late in the fourth quarter to beat a Penn State team that had fired their coach. If you go back and you watch the Ohio State game where they won 13-10, you will see that there are chinks in the armor. You will see that this Indiana team is not invincible. This is not the 85 Bears team. This is not the 02 Tampa Bay Bucks team. This Indiana team is elite. This Indiana team is really good, but there are some things that you can do to frustrate them, to throw them off track, and to put yourself in a position to win. And these are the things that I think are going to be important. First of all, when it comes to Indiana, one thing that people don't seem to really be aware of, they run the ball 61% of the time. They run the ball 61% of the time, Indiana does. They want to run the ball. Fernando Mendoza won the Heisman. They run the ball 61% of the time. So that means if Miami wants to beat Indiana, we have to stop the run. If you go back and you watch those games against, I'm going to keep mentioning them, Iowa, Penn State, Ohio State, there is a common denominator between those three games where they barely won all of them, could have and should have lost all of them. The common denominator was they ran for less than 3.5 yards a carry. Miami has got to keep Indiana under 3.5 yards a carry. Again, they run the ball 61% of the time. So if you stop the run, that takes away the vast majority of what they want to do. If you go back and you watch that Ohio State game specifically, their offense was in the grits until they got the run game going. That offense was stagnant until they got the run game going. Fernando Mendoza won the Heisman, but I said it before, he is not Cam Newton where he is taking over games. He is not Johnny Football. He is not Vince Young. He's not Tim Tebow. He's really good. He's surgical. He knows his pre-snap reads very well. He gives his athletes a chance to make plays. He is not an all-world quarterback. He's not. He's good. Got nothing against him. He's a Miami kid. Shout out to him. But if we stop the run and we force Mendoza to make throws, we will have ourselves in a good position to win this game. So number one for Miami, stop the run. The magic number for stopping Indiana's run game, 3.5 yards a carry. They run the ball on 61% of their plays. We have to stop the run. And they're good at it, but they're not great. They're good at it, but they're not great. You're going to find, I'm sure you've heard it, the right side of their line, that right tackle, Benson specifically, and that right guard, I would love to see Miami going after them early and often. I love to see us stacking 3 and 4, Mesidor and Bain on that right side and making those two guys make plays. If you go back and you watch the Ohio State game, Caden Curry had a banner day against the right side of that Indiana line. There's a reason Indiana only scored 13 points, one touchdown. The reason they won the game is because Ohio State couldn't execute in the red zone. But that's the only reason they won that game. Ohio State took advantage of especially that right tackle. The left tackle's handsy. If we don't get at least one holding call on that left tackle, the ref's not doing their job. If we don't get at least one holding on Indiana's left tackle, the refs aren't doing their job because that boy is handsy. I know massage therapist not as handsy as that left tackle for Indiana. That boy like to use his hands a little bit too much. And you're gonna see Mesidor trying to come around that bend. He's gonna try and turn that corner. And he gonna have his hands up in him. That left tackle get handsy. I think we can get after that offensive line in Indiana. In the passing game, their concepts are very, very simple. You're gonna see a lot of nine routes, that's go balls. You're gonna see back shoulder throws, 50-50 balls. They really like the slot fade with Beaker in the slot. They really like that slot fade. They'll run, like a hitch on the outside, a short hitch. That slot fade on the field. If they see cover two, they will throw that seam ball right up the middle of the field. They tested Ohio State several times with that seam ball. So be prepared for that. Slants, sometimes crossers. That's kind of it, though. Offensively, Indiana doesn't really do anything that's overly complicated. I said the same thing when we were going into the Ohio State game. They don't do a lot of complicated stuff. It's really, I like my guys better than yours. And the one thing Indiana does that is different, they are very good at using a numbers advantage. I had a clip teed up where they brought their tight end in motion and moved him to the other side of the line, and Ohio State didn't react, and it gave them a numbers advantage. If Indiana sees a numbers advantage, they're going to take it. They let football be simple, which I really appreciate. Sometimes we overthink football. We think football has to be overly complicated. It does not have to be overly complicated. If they got three receivers to the field and Miami puts two corners or two DBs over those three, they're going to throw the bubble screen. It's going to be an RPO bubble screen throw because I have three guys, you have two. The numbers say throw this ball. So we have to look for that, look for leverage. Mario Cristobal always talks about leverage and being out leveraged and being imbalanced. We got to be balanced. Where they show numbers, we have to have the numbers there, or you're putting yourself in a position where you're going to give up yardage. One of the other things I thought was very interesting from a statistical perspective about Indiana is that they actually don't put up a crap ton of yards. They really don't. They score on explosive plays, a lot of explosive throws. That's why you see the go balls, the posts, the 50-50s. They're going to throw the ball. They want the big chunk plays. So a key for Miami, and on my key number two, my first key is stop the run. 3.5 yards a carry. That's the magic number. Key number two, don't give up the explosives. Make them snap the ball. You've probably heard that before. Like when you're playing against a team, make them snap the ball. The more Indiana has to snap the ball, the more you give yourself an opportunity for them to make a mistake. Fernando Mendoza, in those three games, Iowa, Penn State, Ohio State, threw more interceptions than touchdowns. Keep that in mind. Make them keep snapping the ball. The more you make a team snap the ball, the more opportunity it is for them to make a mistake. And that's where your opportunities are. That's how you flip a game. Make them snap it. Make them keep snapping the ball. No chunk plays, none of the big explosive plays. We got to make them earn it, make them chip away at it, and make them keep snapping the ball. Now let's flip to the defense. Defensively, they're not star-studded. They're not like Ohio State. We played against Ohio State, and Ohio State had first-round draft picks up and down that defense. Caden Curry and Caden McDonald and Arvell Reese and Sonny Styles and Caleb Downs, name brands from a college football standpoint up and down that defense. Indiana's not like that. The only name most people probably know in that Indiana defense is Diego Pons, the cornerback, also from Miami, so shout out to him. 5'9". He's just very technically sound. He understands football. He's a very experienced kid, but they're not star-studded. They don't have a bunch of special guys on that defense. There's not a bunch of dudes on that defense who's like, oh, that dude's a Sunday guy. The way their defense works, though, and what makes their defense successful, everybody just does their job. Nobody's playing superhero ball. Nobody is trying to be something that they're not. They simply do their job. They have a really good scheme, which I'm going to come back to that in a second, but really they trust everybody to do their job. Scheme wise, you can expect to see a lot of changing the picture pre-snap versus post. So you may have indicators of two man under, pre-snap, and they drop into cover three. And that can be confusing for a lot of college quarterbacks. A lot of college quarterbacks are, surveying the field like most do. And what they see from indicators, they think, okay, this is where my opportunity is going to be to throw this ball. That's one of the great things about having a Carson back. Carson's played 40-ish games now, started 40-ish games, I believe it is. He's seen a lot. He's seen a lot of defenses. He's not going to go against a defense tonight that he has not seen, that he's completely unprepared for. But that is the tricky part about their defense. They will change the picture on you. So they're giving you one thing pre-snap, right? Oh, the safety's in the middle of the field, right in the middle of the hashes. Oh, this is single high. All of a sudden, you get a corner on the backside who drops and now it's cover two. A linebacker carries the middle, and what you thought was going to be open ain't open. That's how they get you defensively. Their defensive line is small. I know you've seen that. The comparison between the size of their biggest defensive lineman and the size of Markel Bell. I know you've seen it. Everybody's talking about the difference in size in the trenches. Yes, that can be advantage, but you got to know what you're doing. Oregon also had a size advantage against Indiana's defensive line, and they got ate up. You can't just be big. You have to be big and know what you're doing with it. You got to know how to use that size. So again, having Miami's offensive line, which is one of the more technically sound offensive lines from a blocking standpoint, makes it feel that we should be good up front. They are smaller, so they're going to stunt, which, D tackle comes this way, another one loops around. For those who aren't familiar with what that means, again, I wish I could show film. I had these film clips ready to go, and I say times got away from me. Here I am in my embassy suites trying to do a pregame preview. But they're going to do a lot of stunting. They're going to do a lot of slanting. If you're not familiar with slanting looks like, remember the Louisville game? Their defensive line, they're trying to cut, they're trying to jump alleys and lanes to put themselves in a better position to make a play because they can't just run right at this Miami offensive line. They know that. So they're going to try to jump lanes, jump gaps, and so they can be in position to make a play. And then because they are a little smaller, use that lower leverage to get under some of our offensive linemen. We got to be quick off the ball. The offensive line has to be quick off the ball. Not from a pass rush on the edge standpoint where you're like, hey, this DN is going to get off the edge on me like Texas A&M's DNs. No, it's not that kind of get off. It's more so from a quick first step, beat you to a spot, and now you've lost leverage. And now you got a guy who's in your gap and you really can't move him. So we got to be quick off the ball. The offensive line has got to be quick off the ball, and they've got to get their hands on these guys. One of the best things you can do as an offensive lineman, going against a smaller D lineman, get your hands on them. Hands got to be inside though, right? We don't need no holding calls. We don't need none of the penalties and stuff that kind of crept up on us against Ole Miss. But you got to get your hands on them, and that gives you an advantage and keep them off your body, and it keeps them from beating you with that leverage and their smaller stature. So that's really what we're going to see defensively. Like that's kind of going to be it. So the other thing I want to see from Miami in terms of going against this defense, Carson's got to take care of the ball. He's done that. I trust him to do that. I'm not saying that because I'm worried about Carson not taking care of the ball. I'm just saying Carson's got to take care of the ball. Can't turn it over. We can't do it. If you give them advantages, if you give them turnovers, they're going to take advantage of it. We got to take care of the ball. And I trust Carson to do that. We have to run the ball. One of the best things about the Ole Miss game was the fact that we dictated pace. Everybody went into that Ole Miss game like, oh, who's going to dictate the pace? Ole Miss wants to go fast. Miami wants to go slow. Who's going to win that battle of dictating the flow of the game? And Miami dictated it from the jump. Similarly, we need to dictate the flow of this game, and we need to do it by running the ball. Again, if you can control the line of scrimmage and if you can move people up front, slow the game down, that's the kind of game we want to play. Now, Indiana can play that kind of game too. So it's not like we're going to do something that completely throws them off, but that's the kind of game we want to play offensively, dictating terms, seeing that offensive line, throw them body blows through the first three quarters, and you get to that fourth quarter. And now Mark Fletcher is just a little harder to tackle. Now Marty Brown's a little harder to tackle in that fourth quarter when your front seven has been feeling them body blows from Inez Cooper and Matt McCoy and Samson Okunlola and Francis. And they've been leaning on you all day. They've been leaning on you. throwing gut punches, hitting you in the ribs, and all of a sudden the fourth quarter come and Marty Brown is coming downhill, and Mark Fletcher, who runs harder as the game goes, is coming downhill. It's a little bit harder to tackle them boys late in the game. So early on, if we can throw some of them body blows, some of them kidney shots early in the game, that's gonna put us in a real good spot in the fourth quarter. I really want to keep this thing short. Really, I'm about to go meet up with my homies and go get some breakfast and get the day started. But want to get on here and talk to a couple of those things, man. I think those things are going to be really, really key. From a defensive standpoint, Miami's got to stop the run. Our magic number is 3.5 yards a carry. Second thing we got to do defensively, we cannot give up the explosive pass plays. They're going to throw the ball downfield. They want to throw the ball down the field. They will run the RPO. You'll see some bubble screens. You'll see some slants, some quick hitches. They want to throw it downfield. We cannot give up the explosives. We've done a good job with that all year. We really, really got to do it today. Make them keep snapping the ball. Offensively, run the ball. Dictate the pace. If we can throw them kidney shots and them body blows early, you in the late rounds of a fight with a fighter who's been taking them body shots, the legs start to get heavy. Mark Fletcher becomes just a little bit harder to tackle. Marty Brown's a little bit harder to tackle late in that game when their defensive front seven has been getting them kidney shots and them body blows for 3 quarters. It's worked for us every game so far in the playoffs. It's got to show up again today. Carson, take care of the ball. That's it, man. Take care of the ball. Do what you've been doing. Carson doesn't need to be anything he hasn't been yet. Carson just needs to go out there and do what he's been doing. A game manager. There's nothing wrong with being a game manager. People say that term like it's a bad thing. They talk about game managers like it's a bad thing. Tom Brady, in my opinion, it was a game manager. He's the GOAT. Managing the game means you have control of things. Managing the game means that you are dictating what's happening to a successful level. Manage the game. That's all we need from Carson. Running backs do what they've been doing. Let the athletes be the athletes, and I think we're going to be fine. Final score prediction for this game. I think it's going to be a close one. I think the 8.5 point spread is a complete disgrace and slap in the face. Down here with one of my best friends, and he's like, I think Kurt Signetti is worried about that 8.5 point spread. He should be. He should be nervous about that 8.5 point spread. And if he bet it, he should be terrified because that 8.5 point spread ain't happening. It's just not happening. You look at Indiana and the toughest games they played, they haven't beat any of those teams by 8.5. They beat Ohio State by 3. They had a walk-off touchdown against Penn State late in the game. They beat Iowa by 5. Miami hasn't lost by more than a touchdown in over 2 seasons. Think about that. Think about it. This year, we lost to Louisville by a field goal. We lost to SMU in overtime by 6. Last year, we lost to Syracuse and Georgia Tech, all one possession games. Miami has not lost a game by 8.5 points or more than a touchdown in over 2 seasons. So the idea that Miami's going to get to this natty and lose by more than a touchdown is crazy to me. It's not happening. And in fact, Miami's also not losing. My score prediction, I got the Hurricanes 24-20. It's going to be a good game. It's going to be a close game. It's going to feel like that Ohio State game. It's going to be one of the margins. It's going to be 1 or 2 plays, one way or the other, that dictates the end of the game. I think Miami gets it done. I think it's going to be a fantastic night for us Hurricanes fans. I'm going to go out here and cut a fool to my best ability. Enjoying this. We waited over 20 years for this, Miami. Though we're not back, we are here, and we are about to go out and get number 6 tonight. As always, go Canes. I appreciate everybody that tunes in. Please hit the like, please hit the subscribe. Hopefully next time I can do another video, I won't be in the Embassy Suites. I promise you that. But also, hopefully we'll be celebrating number 6 national championship for the Miami Hurricanes. Appreciate everybody that tunes in. Continue to show love. Go Canes. We'll see y'all on the other side.